this video for a while now, but I'm gonna tell you guys the reasons why Spider-Man 2001 of Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi and the Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield and Mark Webb, are pretty similar in a lot of different ways. Okay, first of all, number one, they both tell the origin of Spider-Man and how Peter gets his powers. Number two, Peter ends up going on some school trip or involved in some sort of trip or project or something where he ends up doing something with Oscorp and then ends up getting bit by a spider during the trip. I think it was number four. The villain is a scientist that believes that he can save the world with some sort of special serum, and the villain works for Oscorp, and the villain ends up taking the serum himself to prove a point to the military or someone else within the company that the serum will work, but the serum doesn't work correctly, and it goes terribly wrong, and it makes both the villains of both the films go crazy and basically have a second persona or personality. That being for Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin persona, and then for Dr. Kirk Connors, the Lizard persona. So they basically have two different personalities, both the characters, because the serums that they both invented and worked on didn't work correctly. And both villains are green or have some form of green color within their costumes or their looks overall. And both films show Uncle Ben talking about like his great power, great responsibility, famous catchphrase, telling it to Peter, or like some version of it in some way to Peter. Both show Uncle Ben's death. Both show Peter getting inspiration from some sort of wrestling match or wrestling thing, like to create his Spider-Man mask. Like Peter in both films gets inspiration from wrestling, like to become Spider-Man. Both films have Peter making some sort of irresponsible decision that leads to Uncle Ben's death. Both films have some sort of catchphrase that both versions of Peter use when confronting the boss or the store clerk that doesn't pay them, that doesn't work with them correctly. First of all, Tobey Maguire says his famous catchphrase, "I missed the part where that's my problem," whereas Andrew Garfield has a very similar one, except it's "not my policy." Both films show Peter creating his first suit, which is like a prototype suit, and then show some sort of montage with Peter in the prototype suit until it leads up to Peter actually creating the real suit, and he either draws it out or looks it up online with some web software, and then both films show Peter creating both his prototype suit and his main suit. And both films show some loved one or someone dying, and by the end of the film, both films have the villains being defeated by the end of the film. Both films end with the villain being defeated and the evil persona of the villain dying with them, or just dying in general. For example, in the end of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and William Dafoe, the glider hits the Green Goblin, and then when that happens, Norman regains control of his mind, taking away the Goblin Green Goblin persona. And in the Amazing Spider-Man, near the end of it, after Captain Stacy dies, the Lizard loses control, and Dr. Connors regains control of his body, and he basically saves Peter's life by the end of the film. So he is no longer the Lizard, or is being controlled by the Lizard persona or personality. He is in fact Kurt Connors again, Dr. Connors again, Peter's friend. So yeah, that's just some of the similarities I wanted to point out about Tobey's first Spider-Man movie and Andrew's first Spider-Man movie.